Hi Yogi, and welcome to another Yoga Quickie with me, Oceana. In this episode, we are moving through what is actually the most requested sequence ever. So I'm hoping that this practice will give you a little bit of light relief, especially if you're currently dealing with a heavier or more painful period. Really, in this practice, we are embracing the idea of Apana, which literally translates as the energy that is moving downwards. So we are not going to think about engaging the pelvic floor or tensing any of the muscles in the lower body, but really giving into this idea of releasing and softening down towards the ground, sort of allowing the muscle tissue to soften and hopefully release any tension in the hip area as well as the lower back. In terms of props, you might like to have a bolster. If you don't have the luxury of one of those, then I will link a video here for you that's going to show you how to easily substitute them. But of course, a pillow or blanket works just as well. And if you happen to have a hot water bottle that you can fill up and use throughout the class to, again, bring a little bit of relief to your lower abdominal area, then that would be great. And we're going to dive right into practice here. So moving any props out of the way, we'll start with a simple child's pose. And you'll notice throughout today's class that I'm really going to try to give you a sense of spaciousness at the front of the pelvis. So not doing anything that deeply compresses or contracts that part of the body. And so similarly here in our child's pose, we ideally want the knees as wide apart as is comfortable. And from there we can walk the hands forward, softening the chest and forehead towards the ground. And of course, if the head doesn't quite get there, you can plant your hands on top of one another or stack your fists to give yourself just a bit more height, and really make sure that the head is fully supported so that the neck muscles can release and relax. And just for the first few moments here, really settle into the idea of staying committed to your practice for these few moments of your day. And possibly consider if you can linger a little bit longer towards the end of each exhalation. Again, the exhale is very much connected to the idea of Apana, usually bringing a sense of softening into the body. And gradually from here, if the hands are underneath your head, then walk the hands in front of you and all the way across to the left edge of the mat, maybe beyond that. Plant the right hand on top of the left and press back through the palms of the hands. Send your right sitting bone towards the heel. Find that length across the right side of the body. And gradually from there, as you walk back through center, take the hands all the way across to the opposite side of the mat. Plant the left hand on top of the right and press your body weight back to ground your left heel down. So your left sitting bone down towards the heel. And gently as you inhale, come back through center. Make your way into a tabletop position. So bring the knees underneath the hips, the hands under the shoulders. We'll come through a variation on cat-cow. So we'll tuck under the toes and lift the tailbone up towards the ceiling as we arch through the spine, lifting the chest. The shoulders roll back. We look ahead. And as we exhale, the tops of the feet press down. We round the spine upwards towards the ceiling, looking towards the belly button, pressing the floor away, and sending our sitting bones back into a child's pose. On the inhale, rising back up, tucking the toes under, lifting and arching the spine, finding our cow pose. On the exhale, tops of the feet press down. We round the spine into cat pose and all the way back into child's pose. And we'll move through that sequence just 3 more times on our own. So seeing whether we can really match the movements to our own individual breath, which could be a little bit faster, maybe a little bit slower. And especially if you've managed to slow your exhalation down just a touch, that might mean actually slowing down your movements to match the breath. Of course, if your breath is slightly faster than mine, then feel free to do just a few extra rounds if that works for you. And we'll make this our final round. So eventually, once you've completed the movement, we'll meet back in a child's pose here. And with the inhale, rising back up to tabletop. Adjusting the hands and knees if we need to. We'll step the right foot forward between the hands. Of course, feel free to use your hands to draw the leg forward. On an inhale, sweeping the arms out and around, lifting the fingertips towards the sky, softening the shoulders to find anjali, our low lunge position. Not dropping too far into the hips, but really thinking about lifting through the upper body, through the center of the chest to create a little bit of space and openness along the front of the left hip here. My apologies if you can hear my neighbour's dog Gus. He does like to get involved. We'll bring the hands down to the inside of our front foot. That's London life for you. You can always hear your neighbours somehow, somewhere. We'll spin the back toes behind the knee and tuck them under. Using the left hand here, we cartwheel the arms to lift up. And bringing the right forearm onto the front thigh, the left fingertips lift up and overhead. So that we are, again, lengthening through the left side of the body, but equally pressing down through the bottom elbow to create a bit more space between our right ear and right shoulder. Maybe even lifting the eyes towards the sky. On an inhale, use your top hand, come back into that upright position. Cartwheel the hands to frame your right foot at the front. Unravel the left toes and step the front knee to the back so that we can simply switch over. So we'll step left foot forward. Again, maybe you're using the hands here to help you. Lifting the hands upwards towards the sky and finding your version of that low lunge. So you might shimmy the front foot a little bit more to the outer edge of the yoga mat to give yourself more space in the pelvis. Maybe having a sense of lifting through the upper part of the chest, opening into the thoracic spine, softening the shoulders, so not letting any tension creep into the neck. And then letting the arms soften down towards the inside of your front foot, spinning the right toes behind the knee and tucking them under. Right hand here cartwheels the arms so that we find that sort of low warrior two position. Left forearm comes onto the front thigh, right fingertips reaching overhead with the pinky finger edge turning down towards the ground. Center of the chest lifts. Again, you might think about pressing the bottom elbow away from you, maybe even looking up towards the sky. Inhale, use the top arm to bring yourself back upright. Cartwheel the hands. Unravel your back foot and step the front knee to the back. Plant the hands at least shoulder distance. They could be a little bit wider. Tuck the toes under. Press your sitting bones back and all the way up to gently find your way into downward facing dog. Almost as if you're moving in slow motion through these postures. Really press down through index finger and thumb. Keep the knees really deeply bent. So don't let that tension creep into the hamstrings here. walk your feet forward towards the hands and separate the feet so they're about shoulder distance apart here. Grab hold of one elbow in each hand and have a little sway from side to side with the knees still bent. Let the belly flop onto the thighs so that there's a bit of support here. And if that means bending the knees more deeply, then feel free to do that. Find a moment of stillness in the center. Swap the forearm that's on top. So if you swap the arm and it feels uncomfortable, you're probably in the right place here. And then for a moment, have a little nod of the head, yes. So we're checking in with the muscles in the neck. Have a little shake of the head, no. Just noticing any tension in that area. Are you able to really let the head go? Maybe have some circles that you're painting with the crown of the head on the floor in one direction and in the other. And then when you're ready, release the hands onto the ground. Turn your toes away from each other, heels turn in. Let your sitting bones descend towards the floor. Now, for some of you, as you do this, automatically the heels will lift. And normally I would tell you to prop yourself up on some bricks or books, but we're not here for too long, so hopefully you'll be okay with that. Just for a brief moment. If you can, think about lengthening the front of the body, maybe even lifting the hands into Anjali Mudra, prayer position in front of the chest, and pressing the elbows into the inner knees. Very, very lightly though. And then gently here, you can use your hands on the floor for support. Maybe you're doing this unsupported. We're gradually going to make our way onto our sitting bones, feet flat, knees bent. And from there, slowly rolling all the way onto the backside. Draw your left knee in towards the chest. Interlace the hands just below the knee on your shin bone. And then see if you can direct that knee towards just the outside of your left rib cage. And for some of you, that doesn't feel like particularly much is happening. So you could possibly walk the right foot away from you. Maybe even the leg becomes fully straightened. And option 1 is to stay here. Option 2 is to take half happy baby. So you could maybe bring your left hand to the back of the knee, possibly catching the ankle or all the way to the outer edge of the foot. And always with happy baby, the aim of the game is really to draw the knee towards the ground. And the right hand could lightly rest on top of your right hip, so that we're grounding the other side of the pelvis down. Just finding our final few moments to breathe here. Gently rebend your left knee. Swap hands, so bring your right hand to the outside of the knee, bring the left hand to the floor beside you. Now, if you don't quite have the space to open your arm out, then bend the elbow 90-degree angle into cactus arms and guide your left knee all the way across towards the right side of the yoga mat so that you're coming into a reclined twist. And you might keep the head in the center, or maybe you prefer to turn the head towards the left side of the mat. Really, whichever feels most comfortable to you. Possibly still using the right hand on top of the knee to give the knee that weight towards the ground. On your next inhale, lifting the left knee, bringing both knees in towards the chest and briefly hugging them in towards yourself. As we move on to the second side, release your left foot all the way to the ground. Interlace your hands the unusual way. So move one pinky finger over. Bring the hands to the right knee or shin bone. And let the weight of the arms pull the knee across towards the armpit. Maybe walking the left foot along the floor to straighten the leg, working a little bit deeper into the hips. And if you're going towards half happy baby, then slowly bringing left hand onto the left hip to begin with. Lifting the sole of the right foot towards the ceiling and bringing right hand to the back of the knee, maybe to the ankle or the outer edge of the foot. And allowing the weight of that arm to slowly draw the knee a little bit closer towards the ground without straining, without pulling, without pushing. Letting gravity do the work for you here. Rebend your right knee when you're ready. Bring the left hand to the outside of the knee. Relax your right arm towards the right side of the mat, either in one straight line or cactus arms. And roll over towards the left side, bringing the knee with you and using the left arm to weigh down the right knee. Your chin could stay upwards, pointing towards the ceiling, or roll across towards the right elbow. And once you find your version of that twist, allow yourself to really settle into stillness. To soften the right shoulder towards the ground, allowing the chest to spin open towards the sky. With your next inhale, lifting everything back up through center. Hug the knees in, and you might be able to do this lying down, but to set up the next posture, personally, I'm going to sit upright for a brief moment so that we can slide our bolster or substitute underneath the knees. We'll have the soles of the feet together and the knees opening out to the side, which is either referred to as reclined cobbler's pose or reclined butterfly pose in yin yoga. Plant the hands behind you and slowly walk your way back onto your backside, making sure that you have a good amount of space between the arms and the torso, the palms facing towards the ceiling, and maybe briefly pressing into the elbows so that you can walk your shoulder blades towards one another. Then closing the eyes, maybe placing your hot water bottle on top of your lower belly, or otherwise resting the hands there. And that way you can really feel the movement of the breath in the lowest part of the torso, allowing the inhale to really expand the front of the body and the exhale to really truly soften you down, to allow you to feel the pull of gravity almost melting you into the yoga mat beneath you. Allowing the inhale to have a sense of uplift and the exhale to have that sweet softness. Gradually here, plant the feet flat to the floor. Slide your bolster away from you with one of your legs. Then make sure that the feet are as wide as the mat. Let your knees go from side to side a few times to release any remaining tension in the legs and hips. And the next time that the knees travel across to the left side, roll across with your whole body, using your right arm to support yourself there, resting the head on top of your left arm. Take a few rounds of breath with the eyes still closed. Then slowly press into your right hand to come up to a comfortable seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the chest. Bow the forehead towards the fingertips. If you like to work with an intention or sankalpa in your practice or daily life, then this is the time to plant that good intention. Maybe it's something you're hoping for, something you're inviting into your life. Possibly you're sending it out to somebody else who needs that good intention a little bit more than you do. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, Yogi. And thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. I hope you enjoyed the class. And if you did, then give it a thumbs up or let me know in the comments section down below. I always love hearing from you. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And if you already are, then maybe there's somebody in your life you could share it with, somebody to invite into our yogi community. And hopefully I will see you back on your yoga mat very soon. And thank you again so much for joining me. Bye, Yogi.